I'm very excited about this particular guest, Mark, because there are legends that we all know of, like the Aryna Sabalenkas, the Boris Beckers, the Yannicks, the Carloses, but there are legends within the sport that only people in the sport know. They are legends, and one of them is here with us, and it's Jason Stacy. Jason, welcome to the Big T. You are the high performance coach of Aryna Sabalenka. Did I say that correct? High performance, or how do you say it?
I mean, they call me the babysitter.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I mispronounced it.
Yeah, it's close. High performance coach, babysitter sounds very similar. So, yeah, performance coach. That's my main role. So I have my hands in a lot of different areas to make sure we have, all the right pieces in the right places.
And we will talk about all of that because, first of all, congratulations as the team, and Aryna, of course, on the court executed it perfectly. You won one of the best matches probably already of the year, maybe in the last few years. It was such high quality.
It was nice.
How was your travel? Because I have heard that yesterday was a bit complicated for many. Was it as complicated for you as the winner of Indian Wells?
Well, all the disruptions of travel to get here and all the adventures, it was worth it. If that's the cost of winning these tournaments, I'll take it every day.
You're okay. You're okay with that.
I don't need sleep. I don't need delays or whatever. I don't care. It's okay.
Before we get to the hard-hitting questions, what was the celebration like on the plane?
I mean, pretty much just chilling. There wasn't much happening.
Really?
Yeah, we just had a few snacks.
Come on.
It wasn't that exciting.
I was going to say, embellish the story.
Oh man, it was crazy. It was like, the plane was losing control because we were just jumping and dancing so much.
Espresso martinis flying all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, you know how it is. In our world, sometimes you don't have a lot of time in between to celebrate. We try to make sure we have those moments to enjoy it and acknowledge. Be like, okay, it's great, but. I mean, in reality, we rushed from the stadium to the house, got our bags, raced to the airport, and then had our adventure getting back on. So mostly on the plane, it was just the team just kind of being together, be like, we did it.
Yeah.
And a little bit probably just relaxing because there was a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent a lot of energy during that match. Even just watching. I mean, Aryna was like, she was exhausted from it. It was so hot.
It was so hot.
Like
yeah,
everything.
exactly.
So we were just taking it pretty easy.
Well, talk a little bit to us about those. You just say you have your hands in many different pots when it comes to Aryna and her performance. We said you're the performance coach. A lot of things apply to performance. Can you tell us a little bit how maybe a normal day looks like in your line of work and what you do for Aryna to perform her best?
I mean, this. How much time we have? It's a lot of stuff.
We have plenty of time.
As long as you need.
This is the beauty about a podcast. We have
cut
time.
out everything out if you need to right now. Oh, no. Well, look, I mean, to start with, I guess the simple way of putting it would be like a lot of my role is just making sure we have the right people doing the right things at the right time.
Right.
So it's not always me doing everything. Like, I used to do a lot of the physio and massage work. Now we have Helen on board who are physio. So I don't do any of that really. Her and I just talk about what's working, what's not working, what we need to do.
Did you pick Helen?
We did as a team, but yes,
team,
I mean,
okay.
mostly it was referred to me like most people that come in through the team, so I'm sort of the filter through.
Okay.
And then we kind of figure out how they might fit. Because obviously, who comes on the team is very, very vital. Our environment is key to everything, you know what I mean? So it's not just, do you have the knowledge and experience, it's also who you are as a person. Do you fit into the team really well? Like, there's a lot of variables that matter. So, I mean, essentially, I'm just making sure that, again, we have, from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, that, Aryna has everything she needs to be able to manage her energy well enough to perform mentally and physically. Again, like I mentioned, managing our environment. A lot of it has to do with the people, but also has to do with, the food, the supplementation, all that type of stuff.
And that's also part of
a big part of what
I
I do. Of course, I filter all that stuff, filters through me, and Anton as well. Him and I, and actually, really, Helen now, she's come on board and really sort of integrated well into that flow of things. And then again, on a day-to-day basis, sometimes more, sometimes less. It's like also helping her, learn how to manage her emotions a bit better. Like, how she, becoming more self-aware of herself. Self-aware of herself, is that
you
know what I mean?
It's very aware.
Very aware. It's like
She's
double self.
Aware.
That's right.
Double aware.
So, a lot of it, day-to-day mostly is, the fitness, the physical side of it, the from a performance side, but also recovery side. And then mixing how to manage her emotions, how to control her heart rate, how to control her breathing, so yeah, it's a lot of things. It's all over the place. And a lot of it has to do with communicating on a regular basis throughout the day, with Anton, with Helen, with Aryna, just kind of making sure, because, with what we do, it's not like, we're not robots. So we don't have like, this is the set program we're working on today. This is the practice today. It has to be a very live, living thing. And and ultimately has
So
to come from
you
Aryna.
as a team are also adaptable. So not only the player on the court has to
Yes.
be adaptable, so you as a team, it can change in 10 minutes if Aryna feels tired or feels
Instantly.
especially energetic. Okay.
You never know. And look, and
Interesting.
all the things I just mentioned that, you know, I focused on for Aryna, I'm focused on for Anton, I'm focused on for Helen, I'm focused on Max, and they're doing it for me, and Aryna's doing it for us. So the ultimate goal has been, and what we've been building, is that everyone on the team is looking after everyone else, so that we all know that everyone has what they need to perform their best. Right? There's no point in me being here and having all this ability, but if I'm not in an environment and I'm not looking after myself to perform my best, then what use am I? I'm more of a liability than I'm an asset of the team. And so we're always looking after each other as well. So that's been a big key that we've been spending years trying to get the right people and getting that right environment, so that way even Aryna knows. Like in tennis, you know, it's kind of a weird thing. You know, a lot of the players are hiring the coaches, which is kind of, you know, we always had these conversations over the years. You know, and I remember early days I was trying to help Aryna understand, it's like, yeah, like you may hire us, but at the same time, you know, we're here to make sure that you can perform your best. We're going to do everything we can to make sure you have everything you need. But if you really want to be the top and you want to be able to sustain that performance and that level, right, then you need to do the same for your teammates, for the people looking after you. Make sure they have what they need. Make sure they are in the right environment. The way that you're communicating with them is the right way. Because at the end of the day, it has to be that way. Especially in our world where we're traveling all the time. If we're awake, we're basically with each other. Like, it's insane.
We operate, Jason, in a sport that sort of chops and changes its coaches incredibly quickly. They seemingly are incredibly disposable. I'm curious to get your opinion on the value that you've had with longevity and consistency with Aryna, and how long it took you probably to totally win her trust, that you guys as a team all knew what was best for her.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been pretty, I don't know if I'd say lucky, or I don't know what the right word is, but specifically in tennis, I've worked in other sports, obviously, but even in tennis, all the players that I've worked with over the last couple of decades, I've been with them for many years. Like, I spent a lot of time with them. And even if they retired, they would reach out to me to help them with their coaching or with what they're doing. But I think the key is just understanding you have to meet people where they're at, right? And try to figure out with who I am as a person and the way I like to work and the way of my character, the values I carry, you know, does it match what's needed for this environment, for this person? So I think for me, it's the first part, understanding, like, am I the right person for this situation, regardless of the opportunity, or it might seem like, you know, whatever it might be. Aryna just naturally is very, you know, it may not seem that way publicly, but she's very closed off on who she lets in, like really close. Like, she's open, she's friendly, she's got all the personality, but like who she allows and trusts and listens to is very, very hard to get in there. So, I mean, it took, I don't know. I would say the first couple of weeks she was like, "Who's this crazy little American guy? Like, what's going on?" Because I was
still
like,
says the same thing.
Yeah, she still kind of does. Yeah, that's true. She knows I'm a little bit crazy, which is, you know, I think it's more fun that way. You know, I don't know if there what day it was or what timeline, you know, what happened. It was just a little bit over years of just showing through my actions, through like following through with what I say I do, you know, being there for her, her being there for me. Just over the years, it showed through, again, how I carry myself, how I present myself, and how I follow through with what needs to be there. That just shows that trust over time. And she's done the same for me. You know, it's the same thing for me. It's like, it's just been a partnership along the way. And Anton was a big part of that from the very beginning as well. So,
well, I witnessed a scene between you two. This is a very long time ago, 6 or 7 years ago. And it was in Charleston. And Aryna, you guys were coming. She just had won. She might have still been, maybe not a teenager, but 20 or 21
it was like
years
19,
old.
20, something like that.
She was very young. And she came off the court. She had just won, and she was laughing, and she said to you, "Hey, my serve was okay today. I hit 10 aces." And you looked her dead in the eyes and you said, "Yeah, but you also hit 14 double faults." Yes, and I remember this. This is 8 years ago,
wow.
right?
Yeah,
this is a team that has nothing to do with me.
Sure.
But I remember this because in that moment I felt, and she was laughing, and it was a very friendly thing. It wasn't like weird or strange
like,
that you held her accountable. You just said it, and she was like, you know, like, okay, whatever.
Sure.
But I like that interaction because you were very honest with her. She could have taken, I mean, we've all been around tennis players.
Sure.
Many could have taken
and
it.
been one.
There you go. Yeah.
Or been one. Well, and many could have taken it in a bad way. How important is this honesty and holding each other accountable in these stressful moments? Because every week is so stressful. There's a lot of money on the line, a lot of points, a lot of pressure, the eyes. How important is that, and how do you make sure that you keep that in the team?
Well, I think, when you give feedback like that, for example, I think there's a couple of things. One, I think it varies on, how would I say this? The place that you're coming from. If you're genuinely just like you really care and you want them to understand, you want to see, and they know that you're there to help them, then you can kind of get away with certain things, on how you speak and how you do it. But so how you present yourself, your intentions, if they're honest and real, and you have the right timing, maybe something like that, that helps too. I think that's the biggest thing, really, is just being genuine and being open with each other and understand where you're coming from. Look, and it is a long life, that we live in this bubble of ours in the tennis world, that I think, I forgot what I was going to say, actually. Oh, I remember now. Sorry. Yeah. Wow. We had a long trip here, right?
Yeah, you were
no,
a
it's
long
just
time on the road.
I almost forgot again just now. That's amazing. If Aryna was here, she'd be calling me because I'm an old man. He's that age now. He's going to go into home soon. No, I think
we don't want you to lose your job by coming on the big team.
Stop interrupting him now. He has to follow his thoughts.
Where was I? Where am I? Where are we? We're in Madrid. Is that what this is? No, I think the thing is like I said, if we're awake, we're pretty much with each other. So there's going to be times where there's we're stressed out, some people aren't in a good mood, or some stressful thing happens. We have it where we're okay to be honest with each other. We understand each other's kind of when we need space, when we need to be closer to each other, when we need further from each other. And I think one of the main rules has always been, it's we can get angry, we can be upset, we can have heated debates, we can disagree, we can agree, whatever it might be, as long as it never becomes personal.
Okay.
Right? If it's just really clear, we understand where we're coming from and why we're coming, bringing this to the table, why we have a certain belief about something, it's okay as long as it never crosses that line of being real personal, because it can be very stressful at times.
Yeah.
It can be very stressful at times. And we all have that understanding of who we are and where we're at and why we're here. So we can have those, comments like that at times, and sometimes a little bit more direct. Sometimes it's not. There's been conversations we had where I snapped and be like, no. And I just lose it, you know what I mean? Be very, very direct, and she'll do the same sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Then but at the end of the day, the way we manage through that and the way we actually go through that process, we don't just stop it at that, is why we have so much respect for each other. Because we know that we actually care, and that if we're saying something, it's for a reason, right? Even if we end up not being the best, or right or wrong, or whatever, it doesn't matter that we're coming from a place of genuine, want to help each other out.
Jason, I kind of know your backstory, but I think there'd be quite a lot of people listening to this podcast that wouldn't know your kind of backstory, how you got into tennis, what you did before you came onto the tennis scene. I wonder if you could give us the cliff notes of how you did it. I know you were in Australia for a while. I know that obviously martial arts has been a big part of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just tell us, because there's a lot of people that wonder how, as Andrea started this whole segment off with, how the unsung heroes of the sport actually got involved in it.
That's a nice phrase.
I mean, how I got into tennis specifically, obviously I was a performance coach, sort of sport therapist, trainer, all that stuff for quite a while before I got into tennis. Worked in other sports, helped people.
You worked in hospitals, right? I believe
I did.
You
I did also
AIDS patients. You did.
Yeah, my first sort of job, as a professional. I was working at a medical clinic initially. I did some work in hospitals on the side, but my main role was working with Dr. Elliott. He was an internal medicine specialist, and at the time, he was working with a lot of HIV and AIDS patients. And so I was in there sort of helping them with fitness, physio, massage, with a lot of the motor vehicle accident, orthopedic injuries, and a lot of the HIV and AIDS patients, just helping them, have a healthier lifestyle, figure out how to help them kind of work through this. And this, I got to understand, back then, it was in the 90s where even back then people were really just afraid of being in the same building as you, if you had that. And I was doing massage and doing, going to the gym with them and just helping them find other ways to look after themselves to help support their life, basically. So, and a lot of them, whether it helped their outcomes or not, they had a better life, during that time. So that was that was pretty fun actually. And at the same time, I was working with a professional soccer team, the Sounders. I was at a high school doing athletic training stuff, and I was all over the place. But yeah, so I mean, I got into the sports sort of therapies and training, from martial arts mostly. Like I was born in Japan.
How did that start?
Well, I was born in Japan actually. So when I started there, it was sort of like part of the curriculum. You do judo and you do this stuff, and then. I had a period in my life where I was homeless and alone when I was, sorry. Sometimes I get a little upset. But
Yeah, it's tough.
That's weird. It's so weird how sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, it was a while.
Was that in Japan?
No, I was in the U.S.
Okay.
It was from when I was about 12, 13 years old until I was close to 16, about 15, 16. So that was pretty rough times. But the thing that helped me get off the streets, I'll slow down, sorry, was a martial arts school. There was, I was in this neighborhood where it was bad. It was this school was between like an adult bookstore and a pawn shop. And if you look at the FBI records, this area that I lived at that time was like 400%, some crazy amount, percent higher of the violent crimes than the nation average. It was pretty bad. It was a pretty rough area. But anyway, I saw this martial arts school, and I used to walk by and peek my head. And when I was younger, I was into that. But then I had this period where obviously I couldn't train or whatever. I was just surviving. And I got the excuse my language, the balls to go in there one day and watch. And I would go in and watch, and the senseis and the coaches there one day just like I guess they invited me in, let me train there, even though I had no parents to sign stuff. They just let me start training there, and it was very lucky because all my black belt levels and stuff, you had to read stacks of books on history and psychology, on nutrition, on all lots of different things, philosophy, and then I had to write a paper on each of these books. So it was like challenging you as a person and educating you. And so I learned a lot about how the body works, how behavior change works, about from my time on the streets, especially learning how to read people, their intentions and body language and all that kind of stuff. So I took a lot of this experience, and then one day, I don't know, one of our students was a physio and a massage person. I was telling her about all this stuff about the body. She's like, how do you know all this stuff? Really? I didn't know the names of things, but I just understood things so well.
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked my interest in learning to go and put myself to school. And I mean, 8th grade was the last grade of school I finished officially. Obviously I went back to university later. And so kind of going on a long story. But anyway, it was, I learned a lot about the body, about humans, about people. And then I went and got educated on being able to label and name all of those, those systems. And that's kind of led a lot of what I do on how I coach. And in tennis, I just had a mutual friend, that had their friend was a professional tennis player. I was living in Australia at the time. This was early 2000s. And this mutual friend knew that it was Dmitry Tursunov. Yeah. And he was they were looking at firing their physio and strength coach, and they knew I was looking to go back to the U.S. and what I did. And they say, hey, want to come try out tennis? And I was like, yeah, sure. That worked out pretty well. Some little camp with him and Kunitsin. And they said, want to come do some tournaments? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then a few months later, all the players were bugging me to because I was just so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never played tennis and still don't really play tennis. And, I always try to have one foot in, one foot out, so I don't kind of just do what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So kind of zoom out to kind of make sure I'm not missing anything, but zoom in to make sure I know, my environment. And anyway, so that's how it happened, and I just got stuck here,
And then obviously Dmitry started working with Aryna, which is how you had that
and so
connection.
then when Dmitry retired, that first time I was with him, he was calling me hey, I need some help. He was sending me videos. We were talking a lot about what was going on with her and physically and the sort of the mentality. She was very young, very emotional. And then, that year she became what is it, newcomer of the year or something or whatever it's called. And so at the end of the year, they're
the year when she played that amazing match against Naomi Osaka at the U.S. Open, when Naomi ended up winning, and everyone who watched
2018, I think it might have been something
that's
that.
right.
Yeah, I think it was 2018.
Because I remember
was.
watching that, and it was these two young players, and I thought in that moment, whoever wins this match might win the U.S. Open, and then it really happened that way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And
I forgot about that,
Aryna
actually.
then it kind of happened a little later for her, but
yeah,
it
yeah.
still
Well,
happened.
I can explain that too. But anyhow, so they just said, hey, why don't you just actually come? Because I was just doing all distance, come and do a preseason with us. So I went over to Belarus with them, did a preseason, and and then right away I just had a decision to make. 'Cause I had another sort of job offer that was more the most perfect role for me.
Stable? Okay.
Well, no, it was I was the most oh my God, I can't believe that's a real thing. But I don't know. I was just drawn to this kid, and I felt like I needed to be there I was there for a reason. And how cool of an opportunity that I get to there was someone I coached as a player who's now a coach who needs needed help on becoming a better coach. So I was like, wow, I get to coach this guy from different places now. And we had a lot of trust back then. And over the years we spent a lot of time together. And I don't know, there was just something about Aryna. I was I knew. like I needed to be here, and like I could really help this kid, this person, and so here we are.
Nice. Do you feel like you bring sort of Western wisdom and Eastern philosophy together just now from what you've talked about? Because you did go to regular school, whatever that means, but you have all the Eastern philosophies from the martial arts department. Do you try and bring that together in tennis, or do you feel tennis could do more of it maybe?
I mean, for me personally, I think so. I think it's been a lot, and it's funny because just only recent years that I've realized that there's so much of the stuff I learned from, my old senseis and coaches and martial arts, and even living in Japan for so many years when I was younger, that it had such an influence on me, more so than I ever realized. You
Really
kind of go back like, it's pretty cool. But I think absolutely yes. I like try to blend a lot of the older Stoic type stuff, older sort of Eastern philosophies about sort of life and how you perceived, how you deal with pressure, how you perceive things around you. Into this sort of more modern, Western, everything's science, everything's data, everything's this or that. So I think they're both very important. And I think, for you to, whatever you do in your life, if you want to have a life that you're happy with, and you want to be able to perform your best, whatever that might mean for you, and like sustain that performance, in a way that's, has strong values and in line with the character that you want to be, I think you need to look at things from a more holistic approach. It's not just data, not just numbers. It's not just, this research paper. Those are important. It helps guide us. It helps understand, maybe confirm or whatnot. But you have to understand the person in front of you. I think you have to understand yourself as best as you can. And there's a lot of things that have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years that, we can learn from, I think, to help us again, understand ourselves better.
Now, Jason, you're so amazing at so many things, but you are horrible at promoting yourself because you have a book that is coming out in September, but you can already read it online, and you haven't mentioned it once, so I will do it for you. That's the one thing you can be a little bit
I know.
better on.
You sound like my agent now, too. The publisher's like, hey, eventually we got to start marketing this thing, right? Like,
Don't worry, I got you. So if you want to know more about this, because I'm already absolutely enthralled and could talk to you for hours, but you have written a book about it. It's called The Pressure Code.
Yes.
And I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess it up.
Okay, let's see.
It's how elite performers align energy, emotion, and environment.
Absolutely. Perfect. Good job.
But this is so interesting. What does this really mean for you? You talked a little bit about environment already.
Sure.
You talked a little bit about the emotion. What is the energy part in that trifecta that you think is most important for high performance?
Well, managing your energy is probably one of the key things over everything. But I'll take a little sidestep before that. Is these 3 E's, I call them, your energy, emotions, and environment. What is it to me? It is the foundation to everything that you're doing. And what I mean is that, everyone's sort of like programs and systems and like methodologies and all the things that were being sold all the time. They're very important. Don't get me wrong. Like, we need those things. They're very valuable. They're very important. But to me, in my experience, all those are kind of like apps on your phone, right? And the 3 E's are like the operating system of the phone, right? So those apps are only going to run and function as good as your operating system is. If your operating system is out of date, it needs to be updated, then what happens to your phone? Like, your battery dies, it shuts down, the app doesn't quite work. And so what most people do is they go get a new app, they buy a new cable, they go all these external things to try to fix the problem, like a hack, these hacks these days. But at the end of the day, it's like everything fits into those 3 categories. Those are the fundamental things. So no matter what we face, a challenge, an opportunity, whatever it might be, those are the first 3 things that we're cycling through. Like, what are those 3 things that we have control over right now that we can enhance or improve or need to focus on? And if you do that, then all the other things come together. Like, if you can focus on those 3 things and really understand those, and I can really quickly explain those things, no matter what you do now, whatever approach you have, whatever belief system you have, whatever it is you do now, it will get better. You'll get a better outcome from it. I know that, because that is the foundation to everything else. So to go back to your question, energy, like, all 3 of those each have like subcategories. With energy, we have, physical energy and mental energy. It's like I'll keep it really simple. And so it's really just learning how to manage those 2 things. The physical energy has to do with a lot of, your food, your sleep, your training program, your, all those kind of things. Your mental energy also has a lot to do with those things. You know what I mean? So you need to learn how to manage your energy more than probably anything. Think what's like a funny example? Like, if you're hangry, you know what I mean? Like, are you going to make good decisions? Are you going to be rational in that moment? Probably not. So
No.
that's just an energy
I know
thing, right?
I'm
Exactly. And you know how many times you might even know that you know while you're doing it, but you're still gonna like, no, I'm grumpy. I'm gonna be this way. You know. No, but look, managing your emotions is gonna be a huge part. So a lot of it is like, energy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was already sneaking into emotions
Yeah,
because
that's
they're all very
okay.
intertwined.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Yeah, to me, I really want people to understand how important that is, and how like if you're facing something that's difficult or there's something you want to improve, like if you just take a little step back and just look at those 3 things, pick one of those and find something that you have control over, that you can have some action that you can take and improve. It just gives you this power, this like really strong sense of control, and it actually works, and it's called the pressure code, because in a lot of ways what happens when you do these things, pressure becomes more like a fuel, right? Versus like an obstacle, something that's fighting you or you have to fight against, right? Like sometimes we need that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just really want people to understand that, it just gives you so much power. And you can see that with Aryna. Over the years, it's all we've been doing. Every time the challenges that we face now and the way she responds in certain situations when they're not ideal, it's the same Aryna as 8 years ago. But obviously what happens is she's at a higher level of understanding of herself.
Yeah.
She has a better grasp of these 3 E's.
I mean, the final, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
go.
but because the final just keeps coming back to me, is the perfect example of that, where just a couple of months ago at the Australian Open, the emotions got the better of her when she was up 3-0, and Rybakina played all of a sudden incredible 2 games.
Exactly.
And Aryna was just a little rattled by it. And against Elena right now, a little bit rattled is enough to lose the match. And now Jelena was playing just as well, maybe better, and Aryna just stayed with her. And I just remember that backhand cross court on match point down, how that is basically all these 3 things aligning for her, understanding herself
100%.
better and reacting to it in a more mature way. And this is 2 months between one and the other match.
And we've done that many times over the years where like if she has a moment like French Open last year, the final, then we go back and we just look. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing new or crazy. It's like, it's just we're revisiting the same challenges, from her as a person, as a player, and we just have different lenses. We just improve those tools that we have, and it just makes things so much simpler. We can just go back. And the thing about this, I got to tell you, I'll plug my daughter a little bit. So the other reason why she kept her composure so well is that she had a little bit of a reminder of who she is and how to approach this match. Like, from my daughter, my 11-year-old daughter, Jada. So what's up, Jada? I know, but she had a little bit, she has a basketball championship she has won and a jiu-jitsu tournament coming up this weekend, and she's scared and all that. And she was telling me about why she has to do it. And she's like, oh, I'm so scared, Dad, but that's why I need to do it. Like, how'd she put it? Like, how else am I going to teach myself, like, what I'm capable of doing? She's 11, by the way.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap. But it was like the night before that, Anton and I were talking about exactly the shift of focus we wanted Aryna to have in this final match. It was which is the opposite of what it was previously against Elena, and we really wanted to do this. And it was perfect what my daughter was saying. So I told Anton, we ended up telling Aryna, and then after the match she's like, thanks, Jada.
You've got to take inspirations from wherever you can get them, and they come from very different sources.
You never know.
One of the hardest things, and obviously a lot of people that are listening to the Big T are social tennis players.
Sure.
We're built as a species really with unlimited hard drive, but we're basically being given sort of 1 megabyte of thought, sort of the ability to think.
Sure.
How do you teach somebody to kind of stay in the moment? How do you teach somebody to use that one thought that you have at any single time in your life in the most productive way?
Well, that's a big question. I would say the simple answer.
You didn't come on here for the softball questions.
I don't like softball. That's boring. You know what I mean? Throw me the hard stuff. Actually, look, to me, I would say the first thing that pops in mind is that my approach, as often as I can be, I want to train your body to control your mind, right? Managing your emotions and your mental side of the game, it's very difficult. That's why everyone's, it's like one of those little, X factor things. And when you're in that moment, when you are stressed out or under pressure, trying to mantra your way out of it or think your way out of it or visualize your way out of it, it's like, give me a break. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe occasionally it might happen for like a very small percentage of people. But in that moment, the thing that you have control over is what you do with your body. So no matter how you're feeling right now, I'll give you an example. If you're in that moment where you're just like, your head's going all over the place, you got thoughts over there, you're freaking out about whatever, you're being irrational, whatever the thing might be, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
All of those things, right? First of all is understanding and accepting the fact that never goes away. right? That never goes away. But what you can do is learn how to just turn the volume down of those things. So you're never going to be like in the moment and 100%, you know, not in your control, right? So we want to do things that we can turn down the volume so it doesn't have such an impact on us. And one way of doing that is to try to focus on one thing, right? Because if I focus purely on one thing, my brain can't think of other things at the time, right? It's going to want to try to, especially when I'm upset or angry or freaking out or whatever. And so the thing that I have control over, again, as I said, no matter how I'm feeling, is my body. So one place I start is your breathing, right? If I breathe a certain way, it's going to put me in a certain state. And even if I mess all of that up, if I just focus on breathing a certain way, what am I doing? I'm focusing on one thing, right? So it's going to help quiet all that noise. And it's a physical, tangible thing I can do no matter what my mood is. The hard part is when you're in that mood to have the discipline to do the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I can breathe a certain way, right, or move my body a certain way, you know, if I jump up and down, move my feet really fast, it's going to be more stimulating. If I'm a little bit over-aroused, I need to settle down, maybe I do something more like some mobility, some slower movement thing, maybe slow my breathing down. Something physical is going to trigger me and my body to my nervous system to respond accordingly. So if I'm over-aroused, overstimulated, my mind's going all over the place, I want to settle it down a little bit. So narrow that attention to be more focused, right? And so that's probably the trick, I would say, is figuring out some physical, tangible things you can do in those moments. Depends on the environment. Like in a tennis match, it's breathing. It's an easy thing you could do that no one can really see you're doing it, right? Because players aren't going to do some other thing where everyone can see what they're doing. You want to be real subtle about it, right? For various reasons, right?
So no push-ups?
Yeah, maybe not push-ups. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Maybe I can get Aryna to do that one day. Just start banging out some push-ups right before, like, serving for the match.
And then looking down the camera, like...
I got some, like, I could do, like, I personally do this thing called body slapping exercise. So I, like, slap myself and hit my body. Like, maybe I'll have her just, like, and looking at her opponent, like, come on, let's go.
Yeah, that would be great.
Whatever it takes, right? So that's the short answer is, like, find a way to train your body to control your mind because that's a much easier thing to do. It's the easiest place to start.
Well, Jason, thank you so much. I know you have a million more questions.
You're kidding me.
I know. I talk a lot too. Sorry, guys.
You're kidding me. I'm just getting started.
It's not you. It's that we don't have time and we need all the time. But that's why, please buy the pressure code, read it, learn from it, use your body, and then the mind will follow. Not for Mark and me. That train has left the station, but there is still hope for you out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, so much for taking your time.
Guys.
This was an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
Best of luck for getting the Sunshine Double.
Come on.
Good luck.
We got it in the doubles. Now we got to do it in the singles.
That's right.
So, yeah.
There you
Come
go.
on, baby. Let's go.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.